The story we see often is about how our population perhaps over-relies on the use of antibiotics, and consequently, many viruses and bacteria are becoming increasingly resilient to the point of the treatments doing little or no good on modern so-called superbugs. As modern science seeks to create more effective antibiotics, is it possible that the answers to healing were learned in the Middle Ages, and some of the remedies can work today? That's what my guest, Sherry Torkos, a holistic pharmacist, believes. She has more than a dozen books on natural health and healing under her belt. This morning, she will share some of the age-old remedies used for fighting viruses, pains, and wounds that have modern-day applications. Sherry Torkos, welcome to Higher Ground.
Thank you.
So what did they know in the Middle Ages that the modern science has either forgotten or overlooked?
Well, in the Middle Ages, they embraced nature, and they used the things that they had available: plants, roots, different herbs, different elements like silver. Those were part of their primary modalities of treatment. And unfortunately, as society evolved and we developed all these pharmaceutical drugs, which certainly have brought great medical advances, we've abandoned some of the most simple and also some of the most effective treatments that we've had. And so we're going to talk today about some of those remedies. And,
now, are we talking about diet remedies, or are we talking about application cures?
So we're talking more about plants and herbs, things like mint, turmeric, which is a spice which has been used historically in different cultures around the world, and also silver, which was used widely in the Greek and Roman empires to help fight infection and treat diseases, and has been backed by thousands of studies in modern science and still used today and very effective for treating everything from burns to helping to support the immune system, fighting bacteria, viruses, and all kinds of germs.
So give us some examples. You've got quite an array of things here.
Let's start off with silver. In the middle here, I have my display of my silver utensils and my silver cup, and I think a lot of us have heard that saying, born with a silver spoon in your mouth.
And some silver fillings in your teeth,
and silver
too.
fillings in your teeth. And you know, when we think about silver, we think of prestige and wealth, and back in the ancient Greek and Roman societies, those that were wealthy and could afford to eat on silver plates did so, and they stored their liquids in silver flasks, and they were able to get the benefits that silver afforded naturally by helping to repel bacteria and to keep those beverages and foods pure, because they didn't have the preservatives that we have today
or
to put in their food.
Yes.
Or refrigeration, exactly. And a lot of people in the Middle Ages died of infectious disease. I mean, if you look at the bubonic plague, which swept across that area, thousands, hundreds of thousands of people died, but those that were dining on the silver were actually afforded some protection because it helped to fight off the infection. So fast forward it to modern time, there have been thousands of studies on silver showing that it can be a very effective agent at repelling and destroying bacterial infections, viruses, and even fungal infections. And it's also used topically to treat burns and minor wounds. There's a first aid gel that I brought with me today that's in our medicine cabinet. And this, if you have a minor burn, you can just put it on. It helps to, again, prevent bacterial infection in the skin. It also helps to promote healing, anti-inflammatory. But really, the technology on silver advanced in the late 90s when it was a businessman and an entrepreneur, Stephen Quinto, was able to create colloidal silver with very tiny particle size, which meant that it had greater surface area to be effective in the body and to do its job at, you know, taking care of viruses, bacteria, germs, but in a safe way. And so what he developed, it's called the Bioactive silver hydrosol. It's known as sovereign silver. This is something you'd find in health food stores or online, but this sovereign silver is really the leader in silver technology and supplements, because it has both the efficacy and the safety. So this is something people take today to help protect themselves against infections.
What, like colds, simple colds?
Colds and flu and all kinds of viral infections. It has very broad spectrum benefits. We're talking in the intro about the whole superbug crisis, and as a pharmacist, I always say to my patients, only take antibiotics when you absolutely have to. Ideally, we want to try and fortify our immune system to build our defenses and to fight these infections naturally if we can. So using the bioactive silver hydrosol, it's actually 98% bioactivity, which is huge when we're talking about what it can do as an effective agent.
We hear a lot about turmeric nowadays. What's the 411 on that?
Yeah, so turmeric, and turmeric comes in this little root. It kind of looks like ginger, only when you cut into it, it's bright orange. You can see that. Turmeric has been used also for thousands of years and has very potent anti-inflammatory properties. It's been actually compared to some of the anti-inflammatory drugs such as ibuprofen and found to be comparable in efficacy.
So for strains and
strains, sprains, arthritic conditions, people will take turmeric in supplement form. I brought a tea that I made. It's a turmeric ginger latte, which is really tasty, and then you can add the turmeric powder when you're cooking curries, soups and stews and things like that. But turmeric has a lot of applications. Inflammation, controlling inflammation is one of the benefits, but it's also being researched for gastrointestinal issues and also helping to support some of the health of our brain and prevent age-related changes that occur in the brain.
Okay, well, last but not least, I see some very fragrant peppermint tea here.
Doesn't it smell delicious? Yeah, we love fresh mint, and mint is a great digestive aid, and it was used in the medieval times for that reason as well. People would chew on the mint leaves, they would make peppermint tea, and it was very soothing, helped with gas and bloating, easing the digestive distress. And still today, when we have a big meal and we're feeling a little uncomfortable, we can have a cup of peppermint tea, and it can help to, aid digestion. It's also used therapeutically for treating irritable bowel syndrome, either as a tea or the oil in a capsule.
And of course, we reiterate before you decide to self-medicate, it's a good idea to consult with a physician.
For sure, absolutely. Check with your medical doctor, your naturopath, who's ever overseeing your care, just to make sure what you're taking or considering to take works for you and doesn't have any potential interactions. But the three things that I brought with me today are generally pretty safe for most folks, and you can find these things in health food stores, or you can look at them online as well.
Okay, well, thank you for taking us back to the future in holistic pharmacy. Now,